So that made by Africa for Africans, I think is a wrong notion. I think it should be made by Africans for the world. Because, your market is global. Your market is not Africa. Your market is not Nigeria. Your market is the world. You can make a game in Ile-Ife, in Lagos, and someone in Philippines love the game. So leverage that.
So that's the goal.
That's the goal.
That should be the goal.
Yeah.
Because if you are consuming GTA here or you are consuming whatever here, that person created it emulating their culture. Maybe not GTA, but
look at God of War.
Exactly.
The Norse mythology.
Kratos, exactly. Yeah. So they created it emulating a particular culture.
Yeah.
Yet it is played by everyone globally and understood by everyone globally.
Yeah. It even makes people understand your culture more. Because you realize that, we've had these issues where people are trying to recreate the Nigerian culture because Nigerians are not putting their stories out there. So a white man is coming to now give you his own version of your culture.
Hi everyone, my name is Babatunde Fatai. Welcome to Extra Atlas Podcast. On this episode, I will be speaking to David Olamide, a self-taught programmer and a game developer in Nigeria. I was actually inspired by the work he and his team has done, his team in Dimension11. They've built a game called Legend of Orisha, one of the best games that I've seen that actually portrayed the African myths and the African culture. My conversation with David Olamide was around what it takes to actually be a game developer in Nigeria, the sort of effort he and his team put into putting something so amazing together. I actually had time also on the episode to play the game and to have certain discussions with him around the intricacies of pushing out a game as a developer in Nigeria. I was inspired by the level of creativity he and his team has put into this particular game development and the sort of hard work that went into it. I hope you also get inspired and you enjoy the episode. Welcome to the show, David.
Yeah, thanks so much.
It's really nice to have you here. So, first time I came across Legend of Orisha, I was very, very, very curious about it. I'm trying to remember the first time. I think the first time I actually came across it was at Microsoft. I am unsure, might be earlier, but I think it was at Microsoft.
Which of the Microsoft?
The one with the Minister of Arts.
Okay. Oh, that was your first time?
I think so.
But we met in Abuja before then.
Where in Abuja?
With the Minister of the ICT Minister.
Okay, yes.
Yes, that was our first encounter.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so that was our first encounter.
Yeah.
It was very, I would not say strange because there are many game developers, at least people that are pushing the ecosystem or are trying to get things done.
Yeah, they are.
But it was very mind-blowing that I saw that people that have made significant progress, at least something that we can point to and say, oh, this is something that has been created, is being created, and has a lot of potential to it. Exactly, potential to it.
Yeah.
So, welcome to the show once more. So, this particular episode, I want people to understand who David is, to understand how Legend of Orisha came to be, to understand the current goals behind Legend of Orisha, right, and to understand the future goals also.
Okay.
Right? So, first thing that I would actually say is, can you explain a bit about who you are, your journey so far?
I mean, I'll try to summarize because it's a very long one. Yeah, so I didn't start in games, right? My career I've had different phases of my career. But one thing I think I had was early access to computers. My mom was like a secretary at the time, so I knew about computers when when I started working when I was very young. So I would say a lot of games on the PC at home, and I would play some of them. I never imagined that I could create something, like that. So I grew up loving games a lot. In fact, it became like an addiction at some point. So I entered into secondary school. My parents got me my own laptop for the first time, and I was very happy. And I was playing games. It even affected my academics in secondary school, but there was just something about games that got me glued. I'm like, this is just amazing. But I still didn't picture that I could make one. So through my secondary school, I was one of the best computer students in school. I knew CorelDRAW, I knew Excel, I knew Microsoft Word. I was that student that every teacher would give his laptop, help me, do this PowerPoint thing. So it was a very I was that inquisitive kid that loved tech, and everybody just sees that in me. I got to senior secondary school. I learned how to program. I think HTML and CSS. I had this textbook then, and then my computer teacher picked interest in me because I was very inquisitive, and he taught me, some of the basics. I think we had this ICT competition in school. I took first position. My principal was proud. I was that kid in high school. So finishing high school, the best, of course, career choice for me was computer because I knew that it was natural for me. I entered into Babatunde University, studied computer engineering, and in my first year, I was blown away. So I was legit a local champion in my secondary school because it's like you left a pond and you're dropped in an ocean. I'm like, wow, there's Python here, there's C#, C++. I'm like, what's all this? A lot of tech stacks, and I didn't know what to do. At that point in time, I didn't know that there was really anything about game development. Although I had played games and I was still playing games, well, it didn't just occur to me. So I picked Android development. I started with Android. I installed Android Studio on my old crappy laptop at the time. And then I started exploring. Android Studio frustrated my life. Like, I mean, for anyone who is listening, if you know what they call Gradle, that thing was a nightmare for me. So after I was frustrated with it, I dropped it. A lot of my friends who could find it very interesting, I had this group of friends, were like 3-4 guys that were pushing tech. We're very, we're the nerdy guys in the set. And there was this particular day I was in my dorm room. That was Angola Hall in Babatunde University. I was on my phone, and then I was playing this game called Auto Odyssey. It's kind of old. Maybe there's a new version of that game. And as I launched the game, I just saw Made with Unity. This was my first year in OAU. And I asked myself the question, what is Unity?
Interesting.
That's why I'm here today. So the journey started from there.
Interesting. If that Made in Unity watermark has been something that always frustrates me.
Are you for real?
Whenever we build out and that Made in Unity is there, I always just wish I had maybe like a premium account where
to remove it.
Now I can see the benefits to it, to be honest. I guess it does not hurt that 3-second window of Made in Unity. It does not hurt that much.
In fact, that game was even a very big game. Like the Auto Odyssey game. A lot of people were playing. A lot of my friends had it on their phones, but they're not inquisitive to know what Made in Unity was. So it was just something in me that I just said, what's that thing?
So you went, before I go about you going into Unity, let's go back to you liking games when you were a kid, because I also found myself loving games a lot. So I want to pick your brains on the sort of games that you liked.
Yeah, sure. You were a kid. There were several games. So, I mean, different generations, right? From secondary school, I didn't have a mobile phone. My parents were very, very, very strict. You can't use mobile devices. So my friends would have, all these Sega games. You see, Game-Loft games at the time. Game-Loft was very popular on those Nokia C1, C2 phones then. So you go to WAP.dot and rule WAP.dot, these are the WAPs. So we played a lot of those games. I mean, there was this game. I can't remember those games. There was this real football. You played it on that phone. So we really had fun.
What of computer-based games, at least the first time you came across a computer?
Yes, throughout my primary school, I was playing with Encounter Kids. So I was like, because we had a computer at home and the only game we had was Encounter Kids. So I was playing Encounter Kids. When I entered secondary school, I had my own PC. That's when I started playing a lot of PC games. So I played Prototype. I played all the GTAs, finished all of them. I played Need for Speed. There was this game, Virtual Cops. So
all the ones I played, GTA especially.
Do you know Duke?
No.
That was I played Tekken. I played all those old games. Yeah.
Virtual Cops, is it the one where there are markers and
reload? Somebody help me. Yeah. Don't shoot me.
Wow. I think bringing that to memory is actually interesting.
Yeah.
Those game graphics now would not sell, but at least then they were to us.
In fact, the laptop I had could not power it, so I had to use my friend's laptop, which was like, I think an Intel Celeron or something. That guy was a big boy in the class, so I could play any game, bring it, that kind of thing.
Which of the GTAs did you like?
My favorite GTA so far is still GTA. This San Andreas one.
San Andreas. GTA
Yeah,
San Andreas.
because that one
Interesting.
had a lot of cheat codes, SOYAM, Odud. I mean, we had this textbook we used to open them for cheat codes.
Oh, so because of cheat code, I hope like Legend of Orisha would have a lot of cheat codes.
Well, I mean, the thing is,
So okay, wait.
okay.
I want to ask. So is it that cheat code is embedded in by the developers of the game, or the way I thought about it was there are people that actually cracked the game
Okay,
somehow
okay.
and are able to figure out cheat code. So which is it?
I think it goes two ways, but for a game like GT, I think it was orchestrated that way. So looking at it from a developer's perspective, cheat codes are there to help developers. Imagine you are working on a game and you want to, you're testing a terrain, like a level that was made, and you need to drive a particular car on that terrain to see how the car feels. Imagine you now have to like run to the one place to get it.
Interesting.
So, but with cheat codes, you know that you just press a button, you just type a few texts and console commands, and the vehicle drops and you can test. So it helps when it comes to QA and testing. And for that kind of game that is an open world game, is large, is big. You want your time to test to be very,
Very
yeah, short, yeah, exactly. So those cheat codes are there to help you achieve that. I mean, maybe the developers felt like, okay, let's leave this as Easter eggs in the game. If you can find them,
You wouldn't have been able to find it unless someone leaked it from the game development team, because I know that random things happen and there are people that play games a lot where they even find places that I think sometimes that even the devs themselves do not know. Maybe there is no collider at that particular
yeah,
location, or you're able to fall into a scene that you are not supposed to access. I know that
yeah,
one happened.
yeah.
But for cheat code specifically, it feels very deliberate. Before you said it now that it is actually useful for
For
QA
developers, yeah,
and for
QA.
developers, I did not really think about it. I always thought about it in my mind, both as a kid and the little times I thought about it, that it's really served no purpose. But right now, you saying it that a developer testing would find it easier to be able to spawn materials,
Exactly.
teleport himself to certain places,
Yeah.
to get things done, to test certain features.
Yeah.
That actually makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, GT is an open world game. It's very big. So imagine you need to get to the other end of the map, but now there's no vehicle to go there, or you can't spawn yourself there. I mean, like, it'll be frustrating for
Or if you find
developers.
yourself in a terrain and you need to test whether a particular vehicle works on it, say an armored vehicle
Yeah.
can work on that terrain and things like that. Quite interesting. So that's what cheat codes are for. So I did ask that, was it cracked or was it added by developer? What you've said now means it was added by developer
And
in that
left
regard.
there.
And left there. That's
Yeah.
my point. So why leave it there? Because if it were me, I was developing a game. Yes, it is important to have like this cheat code for me to be able to test.
Okay.
Yet I would not make it so hard that I would not be able to remove. Probably even just a line of code should be able to
Yeah.
disable it completely.
I get
So
you.
if they did not disable it completely, why do you think they did not disable it completely?
Okay, there could be a couple reasons, right? Internally at Dimension11, we talk about some of these things. Because we ourselves, we have at least some of our cheat codes, in our project, and we don't call them cheat codes, we call them, tools that helps developers test, stuff. So even on projects I've worked on, even big production games, like they always have that back end thing. And like you said, before release, many of them remove it because they're developer tools. But for a game like GT, I think they living in behind is a good one, right? GTA is a game that have proven to be very, moddable. It's one of the biggest games, in the modding community. Like people mod GTA to any extent. In fact, the number of content creators, on YouTube for just GTA content alone, they are very. A game made that many years ago. What has sustained the lifespan of GTA as a game? That's the last one, GTA 5, is the fact that you can mod it. So people started discovering a lot of interesting things they can do in the game because now you have access to all the cheat codes, and now you can even now add new stuff. So there are times where developers will leave certain things in the game because those things will modify the game, right? Whereby even beyond what the developer can think of. But those things are great, right? There should be moderation to some of these things. But this is actually very great because they will help increase the lifespan of your game. Imagine I was playing a version of GTA at some point, and I was hearing Olamide song inside GTA. You know, that kind of thing appeals to the African, the Nigerian guys. So that way, more Nigerians want to play a game, even though the game is like 5 years, old or something.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think, yes, you say they call it developers tools or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But immediately it gets to the hand of the player and the player is able to use it. It's no more a developer tool, it's now a cheat code.
It's a cheat code, exactly. That's what we call them cheat codes.
Okay. So what you are also saying is there are developer tools for Legend of Orisha.
Yes, we do. We do.
And we are hoping that some of them will make it out so that we external developers that are not part of your team will be able to move further or faster in the open world. How open is the world? Like, how open do you plan? We are here to speak mainly about the game, but I really love the open world like thing of GTA because I think the reason it appeals to people is because we ourselves live in a sort of
simulation
environment. A simulation kind of environment. But ours is less exciting, right? Like in the
you can't keep police now.
You can't keep, in fact, sometimes in GTA you knowingly find chaos and let them chase you, right? So I feel like it is a way for people, apart from dreams, it's a way like when you sleep and you dream and
you might not be in control of dreams. So but this one you can control the
it's
chaos.
A way for you to actually like do certain things that are beyond your imagination. So that I think that's why open world is important. So before I even go to Legend of Orisha, let me not go there. What do you think influenced you like as growing up in Nigeria? What do you think was the major influence towards game development?
Okay. So, the kind of background I grew up in, it was face your book. I was a very, very, studious kid. I was very intelligent. Maybe not brilliant. I wasn't like the number one in my class, but if you talk about the best 5, best 10, I would be there. So I was very studious. I was serious, academic. But at the same time, I was very inquisitive, right? I wanted to like understand things more, and that sometimes caused issues between me and my parents because this boy has to. Let me use Yoruba, come on, malo, yawo, come on, that kind of thing. I wasn't a wayward child, but my parents had this very close monitoring on me. And I had friends that were playing games. I had a lot of friends. In fact, I didn't mention that there was time that my parents collected my laptop from me in secondary school because my academics was suffering. I was not doing so well. And they took my laptop and I looked for a junior, made in my school son and collected his laptop. So problem solved. I solved that problem.
And you said you were not a wayward child.
I wasn't wayward. I was just the smart kid that would find his way around things, So, but yeah, when it comes to me, now saying I want to do game development and all, I think it was my passion for tech. If I look at the background I have, like the environment I grew up in, it wasn't like tech oriented. It was more of the culture, Yoruba environment and all. So some of these things, would easily fly over people's heads because they can't relate. And my parents took me to a very good school as well because my first exposure to programming was in my secondary school. I had a good teacher, I was like, so I think if I didn't have those things in place, maybe when I had gotten to the university, I might not be willing to even explore, try something. And also, I must give kudos to OAU. I mean, where I finished from, like that place, molded me. That ecosystem is great. It's one of the best, in the country. Like, so the kind of friends I made, these guys were already, getting internships in part 2. These guys were, late teenagers, getting internships in part 2, making 50K, 70K, making good money. So the energy is there. All you just have to do is find something you're passionate about and keep pushing it like a crazy person. And that was exactly what I did. I picked Android, it didn't work. I picked game development, and even though at the time when I started it, I was looking stupid. But my friends were like, "Where do you want to work? When do you want to do internship with this young lady?" So I was a crazy guy. So and I also like a local champion because anything I had made, because nobody in the school, I had not seen anybody who was in something like that. Anything I did was like, wow, it's crazy. They would be comparing my work to GTA at the time.
I see. You were a self-taught programmer, correct?
Yeah, self-taught.
What was that journey like first, and what do you think were the major obstacles and challenges you faced?
Okay, yeah. So being a programmer, I said my first exposure to coding was in secondary school, but it was very, HTML, CSS. So when I entered the university, I saw people doing data structures and algorithms, people doing crazy stuff, writing APIs and all, and I was like, wow. So I was like, I can't, lose out on this. So I started pushing myself. Like I said, I had these two friends, Caleb and Shegun. They were very ambitious like myself. So we would sit down. Crazy guys. I could sit down on the floor with my legs crossed for 4 hours trying to learn how to code. I learned C sharp, for Unity at the time. Then after a while, when I dropped Unity for Unreal, when I started learning C++, it was not easy, right? It was difficult. It was hell. I read textbooks. In fact, how I managed to finish from AU, at least with very good grades, is still a mystery because my first 3 years in AU was grinding. Like people would not see me in classes. I was really, and with two of my friends, we're doing this together, and today we're better for it. These guys are working in, good tech companies and all of that. But it's the sense of belonging you have with your friends that you guys, must do great things. So you push yourself like you don't even know where you're going, but you just know that you must keep pushing.
I see. So the major thing that motivated you from what you've said is first the companionship.
Yes.
That particular energy is very important. And that's one thing that I've always seen across board. Both for myself, when was his name also came here, Oscar also came here.
Oscar.
It was the same thing.
Yeah.
So people you have around you, especially when you are young, and as at that time when you are pushing, is very, very important because motivation comes and it goes, but people are also there to motivate you and to drive you fully.
Yeah.
Right. So as a self-taught programmer, apart from textbook, where else did you learn? What other mediums did other people teach you? I know that YouTube is a great influence on many people right now.
Yeah, it is.
So what was your major source of learning?
Okay, there's so many sources for me. The problem I had was very unique because I was in an ecosystem. I had friends who were learning stuff, but we're not learning the same thing. So some of them, even the stuff we're learning were very similar. Like someone that is doing web and someone that is doing mobile might use the same API or leverage the same tools and technologies, but games was on its own. So that means that all the resources I needed, I had to get them myself. Because nobody would give me. So there was no opportunity to share resources. So I had to anything I need, I go look for it. So I was consuming, a lot of money then on data. Data has gotten cheaper now, I would say. Data was really expensive then. So every stipend I got from my parents, I was always, putting them into buying, we had this, we called it Interpol, this card that I used to, because the school had Wi-Fi. So you use it to load on school Wi-Fi to be able to browse. So yeah, for the resources I used textbooks. I also leveraged networks. I started reading networks very early in my career. One of the biggest one, and I must always mention, is a guy I met online. I don't know. I think I met him on Instagram. His name was what's his name again? I can't remember his name. But the guy's from Romania. And when we met on Instagram, I told him I was learning how to make games, and then we became friends weirdly because I still ask myself now that what did this guy say me to make me a friend? Apparently, this guy was also studying computer engineering in Romania, and he had done an internship at Ubisoft in Romania before. So when he was talking to me, I was like, wow, sometimes someone who had interned at Ubisoft, it was so big. So this guy exposed me to 3D. I didn't start as a programmer, in game dev. I didn't start just as a programmer, right? I was doing programming, but at the same time I was doing Blender. I got exposed to Substance, Painter before it was owned by Algorithmic before Adobe bought them. I got exposed to a lot of tools. I did some. If I still look at my Instagram, I was some of the past projects I did 3D. I did some of those things. Just this everywhere. I use Breakies. Is it Breakies on YouTube now for Unity? These are the biggest Unity, platform, like tutorial platform on YouTube. I use books. I use everything I could find. I was just consuming. I didn't even know the one that was necessarily the one that was on. When you're just new to something and you just want to explore, anything you see that looks good, like something, you pick it and learn. So
I see. Okay, so knowledge was gained from various
yeah,
sources,
sources, yeah.
and from the journey, at least I'm slightly familiar with that journey. And 3D modeling is core, at
Yeah.
least to the game development aspect. Programming is also core,
Yeah.
and then you go into game engine.
Yeah, game
You even
engine.
mentioned Substance Painter that was still owned by
Algorithmic.
I immediately they sold to Adobe.
Adobe, yeah.
We could not access for free anymore.
Yeah, because I had a student license.
So
because I think Algorithmic had this student license thing, and I used it a lot. So that's how I learned Substance at the time. Like, maybe Adobe bought them. I'm like, oh my god, game over.
What I was more familiar with was not even Blender. I wished it was Blender. I really wished then, but it was Maya.
Oh, okay.
And although if I had put in my mind to it, the pivot would have been easier. But still, I was more focused on Maya for 3D modeling, Substance Painter for texturing.
Yeah.
And Substance Painter was actually very good for texturing.
Oh my God.
Very
It's
very
industry
good.
standard for material authoring. Yeah, it's the best.
But immediately it's got behind the paywall. Then I started regretting Maya because you could not texture on Maya. But if you were
a
Blender person,
Yeah.
you could also texture on Blender.
Yeah.
So that was why. But these free tools are actually very important to developer growth.
Yeah.
Especially Unity. I think that's where Unity got it really right. Maybe or
Unreal, yeah.
Engine.
The free version of
Yeah, that's where Unity really got it right? In terms of making it free. I cannot think why Substance Painter just, maybe because there were so many industry people that were willing to pay a lot of money that were using it, and they just thought, oh, the rest of you.
Yeah, like I think some of these tools, there's something that they do. If you look at, you mentioned the Autodesk, tools like Maya, they are still the industry standard. Blender is pulling weight, for other kind of industry, like in maybe even in animation. I think Maya is still the standard. But what these tools do is help indies grow to be industry, to be big in industry. So these tools are accessible to we indies to be able to at least get something very quality and push ourselves, to a kind of level and push the kind of quality that you'll be able to push with a tool like Maya. Yeah.
And it's open source, which is great, and it's also absolutely free to use.
And a lot of add-ons. You can easily add a plugin.
And because it's open source, I feel like one day, yes, there might be a lot of funds being thrown into Substance Painter and Maya as part. It's owned by a large company.
Yeah.
But still, I still feel like the drive behind
Blender is getting funds. So Blender got a mega grant. And they've been getting a lot, at least from the big guys in the industry.
And one thing I have seen about Blender is the growth is fast. They are iterating fast, and Blender is a tool to learn if you really want to go into not just even game development. You could use it for anything, many things, products.
Before they had the game engine, although I don't think it's still very functional, but they had a game engine that you could use to make games. I knew then people were like trying it out.
So you created, not you alone, but Dimension11 was created.
Yeah, Dimension11.
It was created when? Can you talk about that particular journey?
Oh, Dimension11's journey. Okay. We met in the university. So I told you about my journey, learning. So I was still using Unity when I met my co-founder. So I don't know how we met. So it was a very interesting way of meeting. So it was like two classes above me, like 2 levels above me. So I was like, I think 200 level or 300 level. It was like I was in 200 level. Yeah, I can remember. It was like 400 or 400 or 500 level. So when we met, I was in his room, and I saw Unreal on his system. He was doing something in sequencer, but it was not sequencer at the time. It was Martini. That was like the cinematic tool in Unreal at the time. And I saw that thing, and I was like, didn't see shit. I mean, no shade to the Unity guys, but it blew my mind. I was like, this is what I need to get. That evening, I uninstalled Unity and installed Unreal. That was when my journey with Unreal started. So, although at the time, the vision was for us to make a Nigerian short animation film, something short. But from the beginning, I'd always been, it's game I want to do. I made it known to the guys that my passion is games, and I'm going to use this tools to make games. So, but because everyone was on the same page with us creating a short film, and it made sense to own our skills with that. So we formed the team. That's when Winston joined, Lulu joined. Those are my co-founders. We are four co-founders, and then we started working on that project. We called it project Ogbanje. That was the story. Then there was this lady that wrote the story for us at the time. And the story was very interesting. So we started working. That's when I learned how to do some modeling art, texturing, and then even procedural texturing using substance designer, not painter now, where you author, rust so that you can increase it on the slide. I know. There were interesting stuff that we could do then, but we're too ambitious. That project failed in an interesting way. So, and I won't say it failed because, well, I mean, we didn't launch or push out the project, but the learnings, and the experience from that project, we learned a lot of lessons from project. I mean, we got skills and we learned a lot. And we didn't start Dimension11 at the time. We just knew that we could work together on something. But after that period, everybody kind of parted ways, some folks graduated, so I was still in the school, in the institution. It was around that time that I knew that there must be guys around that would be willing to do something. So some of my friends, I started seeing some things I was doing, and they were very passionate and interested. So that's when I started the community in OU that I come to now. There was no games community at all in OU. And I knew that it won't be great to come here and suffer like this, and anybody coming again will now start suffering, So I started a community. And when I did, Tosin joined one of my friends, other friends started joining. Oh yeah, I saw what you're doing yesterday. 8%, boom, don't worry, join our community. So started sharing resources, with ourselves. You learn this, I learn that, we talk, we do stuff. When I was there, we organized events and ensured that the game development was included in every of their programs. And I would try to show some of my works that okay, there's something going on here. So that went on for a while. And the community was growing, from 5 to 10 to 15 to 20. Most students started getting passionate about it until it got to a point where I needed to do my 300 level IT, and there was no game studio, in the country that I could go to at the time. So I did in one of the labs in the university, and then there I worked on a project called Ebora. That was what I named the project. It was a personal project in Unreal. I mean, when I got that project, it's shitty now, but that project, there will be zombies coming, police officer, you'll be shooting them. It was in Unreal. So I was also very ambitious that this project, I'm going to push it everywhere, this and that, I know. So the lab was supporting me with internet, not financially, but I had access to internet. I mean, it was a privilege because free access to internet, to be able to get resources and everything was just great. And that was where I met one of the guys who is now working on an ambitious project in Nigeria. And then was still doing, was still drawings. He was an illustrator and he uses Blender, I think. So when he saw me using Unreal to do stuff, he said, "Oh wow, like, he wants to build games." I know. So he picked Unity. That's Daniel. If you know of Innovate Studios, yeah. I mean, we met in the lab. It was that lab that made us. So that was around the time he started with Unity. So I kept on pushing my own Unreal thing. I didn't know, I didn't push that project as big as I wanted it to be, but a lot of people knew about it. So I had a build that you could play, and I played with friends. They showed them. Project was never finished actually, but I saw something in that project that was like, okay, the potential is there. Like, right, nice. Like, I could add my UI system, add everything working in that game. So from there, I was, for a year I kept learning. So for the most part, I was just self-learning and then sharing resources with friends. So when I got to my 400 level, that was when things got more interesting. At the time was when Africa Communicate launched the Gamathon program, the first media edition. So because I had owned my skills, learned Unreal, I'd learned Blueprint, learned to program, learned to do so many things. And then I was not really in touch with, the guys who worked on the Ogbaje project, although I knew them, I had their contact, but everyone had gone, their separate ways. It was around that year. That was, I think it was COVID year. That was 2020. They announced the Gamathon, and then I was like, let's do something. I need to make games. So I reached out to everybody from Ogbanje. And then I started to say, guys, let's do something like this. So I was not that kind of manage that project in a way. So it was COVID run. That was the game at the time. So we worked on it. We had very limited time because we started late. We had this guy that animated for us, and it was fun. And when we finished that project, we even submitted almost late. We won, I think, third place in team fit category, won the category, and we're like, wow, the first time that someone is even giving me free money for making games. I was like, wow, like this age. And that was where the energy came in for everybody. And we saw that, okay, we could do this and we could win something. Why don't we take on something more challenging? It felt natural for us to do something else after that jam. Like start something. And then, Winston came up with the story. We started saying, okay, we don't just want to build just a project, we want to build a company that makes games, right? Like, and then would, use the skills we've learned, we leverage them to push. So apparently when I was even doing my own stuff, every other person had gone to like push themselves in their own. So we're coming with skills. So I was like the programmer, everyone like was the technical designer, they could use many of these tools, Unreal, Blender, and all of these things. And we had Winston, that was the story guy. Winston, very good with stories. That guy researches is really good. Then we had Lulu, who knew how to use Blender, was our like modeler. So we had like a core team that could work on a game, like could start something. So we started, we registered, started building together. So that was the beginning of Legend of Orisha, and that was in 2022 January. Sorry, 2021 January.
I see.
Yeah.
So Dimension11, I would say, had its roots first in the project that you guys took up, and you supposedly failed in it. I would not say failed.
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I don't want to put the word failed out there because the prayer was not a failed project. Thinking about it now, it was a lesson we had to learn. Right.
I agree. And so far, even with your stories, there have been many lessons. And I think that's one thing that is very uniform amongst developers. There are many people that would start code base. I even think you went further than many people. Some people would conceive idea, and after 2 weeks of maybe coding,
bye-bye,
leave them to the next one. You get. And for every great developer that you see out there, there are corpses of projects behind them. And you cannot even say the project's going to completely failed, because one day they can just wake up and decide to pick it back up again.
And at least like the lessons you learned, from some of the projects you took on. I'll be honest, the Ogbanje project really exposed me into the world of 3D generally. So even though that project didn't have anything, programming in it, because it was meant to be a short film, like an animated film, but today I can communicate with designers, with artists, because I used their tools in the past. I understand their language. So it helps me, it helped me to be a very dynamic person in a game dev team, where I can say, okay, the poly count is too high, I can talk to artists, I can tell you, okay, this is what I feel the issue is. Even though I can't use those tools as good as you, but I can talk to you, which is good.
Interesting. So the experience gained from projects is very important, especially in pivoting a developer.
Yeah.
So Dimension11 had its roots in those projects, or at least that first project.
Yeah.
And it actually came to be, I would say, it started forming really strong during the Gamerton events.
The Gamerton gave us that sense of belong, like that feeling of we can do something together. Yeah.
Interesting. And it was not just we can do it, it was the fact that each person himself has gone out to
through fire. I've gone through fire to develop ourselves.
Then came together to be. That's quite an interesting story and experience. For people out there that they are thinking of this is something that we can do. I think many people, the things that stop them is actually the fear of failure. And one thing that has been demonstrated so far, at least by your life, has been failure is even a learning experience.
Yeah. Like it's a step on the way. Because I think I read the story somewhere that I said there was this is it this guy or this game studio that they had about 50 games that didn't sell anything, and they kept building right until they had a major game that was huge, that blew up. So if you understand that failure in itself is not even failure, like, that's why you see a lot of people saying that we should not be afraid to fail. And that fail is not that, lackadaisical, failure. It's like, what do I call it? Like, you learn from it, and then you move on. Yeah, and it's necessary. In fact, you need to fail to also succeed, right? So when you fail, you have a rethink. You kind of say, okay, maybe there's something I need to change. You that have failed, you've learned something that someone who has not tried hasn't learned.
Agreed. 100% I agree.
Yeah, so
100%
you have an edge. Someone that has failed 100 times and someone that has not failed once, I will go with the guy that has failed 100 times, because he knows that. And when I say fail, not like out of negligence or anything, but that tried it and it didn't work.
Right. I agree 100%.
Yeah.
I think like going through fire is very important, and one should never neglect the experience.
Nah.
The experience of it is even more important than the results.
Way more.
It's way more important than the results.
Yeah, the process. Yeah.
Exactly. One key thing that I've noticed, be it with the projects that you've worked on up to Origin of Orisha, is how both the naming and I would say the creative process is deep rooted in African mythology.
Yeah.
Right? You mentioned something, I think Ebora.
Ebora,
there was
yeah.
one before then. Ogbanje.
Yeah. So Africa, right?
There's that thread that is being established there, and it's something I really like, because an average person that has the capacity to even build a game would be thinking, what sort of name would I name it that would be more accepted by people outside the country? Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's do something, maybe a Hitman, and Hitman already exists.
Let's do Call of Duty,
Exactly.
Let's do a shooter, yeah.
So I like that deep-rootedness in African mythology. So what actually inspired for origin of Legend of Orisha itself? Like what actually inspired that African-oriented storytelling behind it?
Okay, let me just put it this way, that Legend of Orisha, it's an IP of Dimension11. So Dimension11 is the core, right? Legend of Orisha is just one of the results from the processes within Dimension11. So what it means is that if you look at our vision, our mission, right? I mean, it's on our website where we said that we want to use these tools that these tools that we have access to, these powerful graphics tools like Unreal Unity. We want to use them to show African culture to the world. Like, that is it's probably not framed that way on our website, right? But what it means is that whatever it is we are doing, we want to show Africa to the world using this technology that we have access to. And that was what Dimension11 was built on. So whatever that means, right? If it's making an African game, right? Yeah, of course, we will. So the foundation of the company is rooted in something African. So even if we had individually explored other projects, that maybe for Westerners or everything, but within Dimension11, we are saying, if we're using Unreal, whatever tool we are using, I mean, in the future, it could be a different game engine, right? It could not. It's possible we're not even bidding for PC and consoles. We're probably bidding for a VR headset. Is this special computing? What did Apple call down?
Spatial computing.
Whatever it is, we want to show Africa through those media.
So you want to tell African story and bring Africa to the front, to the stage, to the global stage.
Yeah.
Right. That's quite interesting. So for Legend of Orisha specifically, what inspired the story? What is the story about? Tell us a bit.
For the story, I wish Winston was here, because Winston is our creative director, and I mean, he brought the amazing story to us, and everyone just loved it.
I think I'm going to have a sit down with your team. Don't worry.
Yeah, I mean, because there's so much I can say, but when it comes to the dynamics of our story, Winston, knows it best. I mean, even in his dream, he's probably saying the story. So
I'll rely on your limited knowledge of it.
Yeah, sure, definitely. So, the game is set in the ancient Oyo Empire, so it's a pre-colonial era. So, like the time where we still had Obas, the time when we had warriors, we had, you know, mythological gods, we had people that would believe, they had superpowers and all of that. The Nigerian, not the present day Nigerian. So, you see a lot of primitive weapons, right? So, like, using a cutlass, using all these things that you won't see today in battles, in warfares. And our main character is Remy. I mean, the guy is everywhere. So our main character is Remy, and is a hunter, right? So is human, right? He's not a god, and he has a past, right? So something had happened in the past, and there are consequences for the action and everything. And what he's trying to do is to unravel the story to kind of solve some of the mysteries and kind of ensure that bad things don't happen. I'm using very vague language, yeah,
Yeah, that's fine.
but like the story is meant to, and that's what we call it a role playing game. So you're playing the role of Remy to kind of understand the story. So you're playing through his story. You're seeing things through his lenses. You are playing as him, trying to be in his shoes. To know, okay, in that particular era, like the pre-colonial era, there's a VI hunter, and the, you are being faced by the consequence of things that had happened in the past, and you are trying to understand those things because now you don't know what happened in the past, right? And that's where the story comes in to kind of make you understand, okay, these things that happened, like flashbacks and all of that, and then from there you are not trying to ensure that things do not get worse than they are, rather things get better. So that whole journey, is that experience. So you fighting enemies, fighting with humanoid enemies, fighting with mythological enemies, um, going from level to level, solving puzzles, whatever it means, storytelling, narrative, combat, puzzles, exploration, whatever it means. That's how the core loop is. So you're trying to.
So Remy is going through a journey.
Yeah, it's a journey.
He has a past, something that would keep the average player interested in knowing more about Remy and his struggle.
Yeah.
So we are put in his shoes now to both experience that struggle and to go through the process of, I don't know if it's a redemption process.
It's kind of it's a redemption
process.
I think it's a quest because you really want to understand what's really going on, and now see what you can do to ensure that things don't get bad. Like, so you need to fight certain individuals that would make your life miserable, that will make your journey hell. People that if you don't kill them, they will kill you. Someone has to die, right? So it's, like I said, we can encapsulate the story better, but in and also we have a supporting character. We have not really unveiled her, so I can't say so much about it. But the player would have support throughout that journey. So it's not going to be like he's lonely, he's just trying. So there'll be support throughout the journey. So the player is just experiencing the story, the world, and trying to understand it, face challenges, in puzzles, in traversals, and in combat.
So how are you guys ensuring authenticity to the culture and the story?
Okay, yeah. This is something we say, all the time when we want to. There's like a slider, right, between player familiarity and cultural authenticity. And on the two ends, for cultural authenticity means that it should be true to the culture. So if they use a cutlass to fight, your game should show that it was a cutlass, right? You don't want to put a sword. We did have samurais, in the old Oyo Empire.
Might be surprised, but
so you want it to be true to the culture. On the other end, you want it to be very familiar to the player. And familiarity means that someone who is not in your culture, who has played an action adventure role playing game for, should be able to play your game and understand things quickly. Not, I've never seen this before. Because you want to present something new in a familiar way to the player. That's like the goal. So what we're trying to keep to this, so slider is like a balance between both. It's never fully culturally authentic, because if you want to go for cultural authenticity, then make a film through to the culture, or write a book that articulates the culture 100%. That's why you say even in movies, they never give you 100% cultural identity. They always spice it up with things. Not that those things are lies, but to make the experience better for the player. Because some things already exist, they're already established, that makes things fun. So those elements have to be there. Yeah, so if they are not there, you see that something is lacking.
I see. So there's a balance between authenticity to the culture and familiarity.
To the player.
And authenticity to the culture would basically be try to emulate the culture as it would be at that time that is being emulated. And the familiarity would be, no matter who it is, there is a human being. That human being must understand that this sort of cutlass can hurt people. That is why we are using it at this moment in time.
Do you get?
Right.
So you shouldn't be swinging a cutlass, and because you're trying to make it through the culture, you are doing certain things that people will not understand, right? Even when, okay, for instance, in your game, you might have people speaking Yoruba or something, because it's a cultural game. So through to the culture, you still have subtitles that will change to other languages. Because what if a Chinese person is playing your game and is saying Orimio? You can't understand. So you need to understand that the people that will play the games will not only be cultural. Even in Nigeria, it's nobody understands Yoruba. So if you are targeting Nigeria and you still want to make it Yoruba, you're already targeting a subset of Nigerians.
So made by Africa for Africa does not mean only Africans should be able to understand it. In fact,
I don't believe in made by Africa for Africans. I never believe in made by Africans for Africa.
Africa is even large self. Even within Nigeria, as you've said, the culture might be interesting.
So that made by Africa for Africans, I think, is a wrong notion. I think it should be made by Africans for the world. Because, your market is global. Your market is not Africa. Your market is not Nigeria. Your market is the world. You can make a game in Ile-Ife, in Lagos, and someone in Philippines love the game. So leverage that.
So that's the goal.
That's the goal.
That should be the goal.
Yeah.
Because if you are consuming GTA here or you are consuming whatever here, that person created it emulating their culture. Maybe not GTA, but
look at God of War.
Exactly.
The Norse mythology.
Kratos, exactly. Yeah. So they created it emulating a particular culture.
Yeah.
Yet it is played by everyone globally and understood by everyone globally.
Yeah. It even makes people understand your culture more. Because you realize that, we've had these issues where people are trying to recreate the Nigerian culture because Nigerians are not putting their stories out there. So a white man is coming to now give you his own version of your culture.
So before I continue my questions, or while I'm continuing my questions, I would like to try the game out. So the logo, I saw a post from you. I think it was on YouTube, I'm unsure, that it has now been patented. Can you say a bit more about that?
Oh yeah, it's one of the videos we released on YouTube on the channel. So we realized that when you're building an IP, you need some legal protection for your IP because our stories generally are untapped. African stories, even Nigeria. So this is like a time where a lot of people want to really get involved and use African stories and all to kind of push content and all of that. So we need to be very, very careful such that we're doing something very interesting, something that people love, and we don't want bad actors to just come in and mess everything up. So going the legal route to ensure that you protect all your IPs, to ensure that if anything will be used, it has to be licensed by you. This is like 3 years of work already, so you don't want to. And according to the law, if you didn't license or patent or do anything like that, anything can happen. You are not in control, right? You can't do anything about it. But once you have your protection there, then if anything goes wrong, you can always go the legal route. So
that's very sensible. So what am I looking at now? Is this like a demo play?
Yeah. So what to do is because of our development process, we usually have like milestones. So after a major milestone, we'll make a demo. So they contain all the previous stuff we've done, plus the things we have done within the milestone period. So this work is work of all the things we've done, plus the milestone from about 6 months ago. So I did like a 6-month milestone. So this is a tech. I won't call it a tech demo. This is a demo from the game. This is not to tell you about the story. This is not to tell you about even full exploration of our environment, because this is not the full environment. We made the environment specifically for the demo. This is for you to playtest our combat. and our word interaction,
I see.
and give us feedback. And this is also like something a material can show to investors, so for other purposes. So the goal is to have something that is playable, that is shareable, that people can actually play.
That is concise, and people can get at least the general feel of the
and give us
game
feedback.
and give you feedback.
Yeah.
Interesting. Let's
Sure. I mean, I know you'd have fun playing. So yeah.
So what are the controls like?
Yeah, the direction.
Interesting.
Okay. So, and also I always mention that this demo is a tutorial demo as well. So some things I'm talking about, like the combat and interaction, will kind of show you, some UI to explain. Okay, this is how you do this, how you do that, so that you are being guided when you play through the demo. So yeah, you can start now.
So is it possible, or would it be possible for one to change from a third person to a first person, or you like for people to always have the character on screen?
It's fully third person actually. Yeah. So.
Oops.
And then to look around, use the other analog. So like that's it.
Which one?
The second analog. You're using the right, the left, so use the right analog to look. So to change your direction. Yeah, use it.
I also saw for your character design, I saw that you recently switched to a new.
So MetaHuman.
Yes.
MetaHuman. Yes. We've had MetaHuman for a while, right? But just that we made our character, more realistic and all. So in your game, what you see the most in your game is your character. It's always on screen, right? It's one that is exploring, going everywhere. So it must be good. If anything in your game is not good, your character has to be good, because that's who the player sees all the time. Players interact with your enemies and all, but your character is like that entity that is always on screen. So if it's not good, then it might not be so great. So
one thing that I can say is I like these markings on the wall. Was anything? I'm guessing you are trying to emulate the African sort of markings and things like that. So I might to go into that. What do they call it? Portal.
Yes, I mean that's the goal, right? I want to actually play and
see.
Yes, okay. Because there are certain things we did that and I love your feedback as well. So I want to get.
I was just going to go and explore this place. Even I see. So I don't think if I had just gone directly with the mission, I would have gone into the portal. But yeah, I think I found a separate mission from the.
You won't have been able to enter the portal. The portal will tell you to come and do this.
Oh.
Yeah. So, but it's good to discover this first, because you'd have come back to do this.
So, I think I removed how to fight. What is supposed to be
the lower button? The tutorial showed it.
Yeah, you showed it, but I pressed X too fast.
To close it, you press the upper one. Yeah. So, all these tutorials are. You can see them on the show control menu.
Okay.
No, it's the lower one to remove your cutlass. Then use your trigger to attack. Yeah, your triggers. The upper one.
Okay.
Like.
Okay. Yeah.
Now this trigger is to attack. Come in. Oh, it's not more the trigger. So apparently we have to control configurations. So we have one that we use the trigger for attack, but we realize that some players don't like using triggers to attack. So I think this demo, someone changed it. This demo was played yesterday at the event.
I also would not have preferred trigger to attack. I would have preferred X because it's more.
Okay. I mean, so that player that love to use it. Yeah. I love triggers for attacking.
One interesting thing is the blood. I feel like there is a lot of blood. I'm not saying excessive. It's not excessive. It's actually very good.
Okay.
At least you're able to notice damage.
Yeah.
You are able to notice damage.
That blood, a lot of people are giving us, different feedback. Someone's like, wow, I love the fact that it's bloody. I love the fact that, you see people die and then you see blood. Some people are like, I don't like violence.
So I would advise that you put away in settings where people are able to adjust level of.
It's in the plan. Even in some games, you can change the color of the blood, maybe to green or
because
something.
of color blindness and things like that.
Yeah, so you can tone down the gore. They call it gore.
Gore.
Yeah.
So we're supposed to climb back up or on sheets.
Just look around. You find where to go. Use the other. Yeah, exactly. You kind of see where you should go. Yeah.
I see. Interesting. The terrain, is it procedurally generated or for specific parts, like you need to actually design it yourself, or procedurally generated, like
Okay, fully.
yes.
So Unreal Engine has created these new PCG tools that are very, very sophisticated. So our level design team actually, I think it's about 80% procedural, but there are some things you place in your level that aren't procedural that has to be unplaced there. So it's like the terrain itself is procedural, but some things in the environment are of course, are unplaced. So.
I like many of your devlogs on YouTube,
Oh, really?
which shows the process in which many of these things were created, the decisions behind certain physics and things. When it comes to one thing I was curious about is for character design, I think like you said, meta-humans, but I'm not sure if you use meta-humans for all now.
No, our enemies were, when it comes to the skeleton hierarchy, it's still meta-human, but when it comes to the characters themselves, of course, we have a modeler and animator on the team that can, help with that.
I see.
Yeah, so we do have, our art team really do great work with some of the animation, some of the character modeling, I know. So
I think these guys, these what do they call it?
Forest Soldiers.
Yeah. What is up with him currently?
Just get close. You see what they have to do. So you have to take him down. You press this. Yeah. So this is a tutorial. This demo is a training for you to learn some of these things. So
yeah, go on.
Okay, yeah, that's it.
I wanted to say quite an interesting combo, to be honest. One other feedback would be, I feel like they are, okay, like you said, it's a tutorial, but I feel like they are quite docile, slightly. They could be more active. Well, maybe it would take the fun out of it, because maybe people are just going around to want to kill, but they could be more active. They could notice people faster. They could notice me faster, for example, and be the one to initiate the combat.
You get there. These enemies were made for them to be dumb. For you to be able to learn these things. We're taking you through a journey. This thing you're doing was crafted by us this way. I want you to actually go. Yes, controls. Exactly. So that when you're not fighting, you know what to press. Because if you go into that fight without knowing anything, you collect. So
yeah, I go collect. Okay, so I can see the portal now again.
Yeah, there's a way to go up.
Display.
No, let's
see.
Yeah, there's a way for you to go up. If you look down there, if you go back a little bit, you said turn and face that place. Yeah.
Okay.
So every way to do things is kind of by interaction. Yeah, exactly. So I think I'm coming. I hope that's not the bug. I hope that's not the bug. Wait. Can you turn around?
Okay.
Oh, that is a bug. That is a bug. You made that bug. We saw that bug once. And I'm even happy that you're saying the bug now, because it's something that I think someone gave us feedback on, where because of some level design, issues there, climbing over. Actually, a lot of people have played this place and there was no issue. But the way you play it, you probably didn't even know, and you play it that way, and you kind of see the issue. So
one thing that I noticed is the physics.
Okay.
To the best of my knowledge, Unreal Engine physics is actually very good.
Yeah.
But maybe it is because of size that, what is the design around physics collision between players, between player and environment and things like that. What is the thought around that?
So for physics, right? When you use physics, you need to be very careful. Physics is expensive. It's cool, right? But it's computationally heavy. So if you have a system that is not so powerful, and someone is playing the game on it, it can't compute physics as fast. No, physics is maths. It's computing. Every game engine has a physics engine that computes the physics, the maths, and everything. So what happens is that your game will break on such PC where you see things fall apart because the computation that should be happening maybe 100 times a second is happening maybe just 2 times a second. So there's a lot of missing. It's like interpolation. So you're missing values in between. You kind of see your game break apart. So that way you don't want the system to be physics heavy, right? So you have to now look for that means like animation, like anim dynamic. There are so many tricks around it. So while physics is great, it should not be heavily. Something that is so cool, but you know that you have limited use of it.
There are various approaches to physics though that one can. I enjoyed my gameplay so far.
Okay.
There are various approaches to physics though that I think can be less computationally expensive. I cannot mention any, but yeah, I think yes, there are many that are computationally expensive, but you could. Well, you are the game developer. But I think there are other approaches that could be less computationally expensive. But my thing now is, for Legend of Orisha, would it be like rolled out in like series, something like that? Or are you waiting to finish a whole game end to end?
Yeah, we're going to finish this game, right? So we have, the beginning of a story and the end of a story. So we're going to finish the entire story. Of course, maybe we would have a sequel, in the future, whatever it is, maybe a DLC or something. But we're going to, you play a complete story. That probably leads you to another story, which could be another game. But yeah, there's that beginning to the end.
What's the timeline for you with funding? Because I know that.
Okay, I say with funding.
Yes, timeline without funding and timeline with funding. So timeline with funding. That's hoping for the best.
We're targeting the first quarter of next year into Legend of Orisha.
I see. What platform do you plan on deploying?
PC and consoles, like Steam. Don't be specific, but PC and consoles. So we're still having the conversations, on that. But of course, we're coming to PC and then to consoles.
Okay, so PC people install.
Yeah.
Okay. Distribution channel. You've not made choices on that. You said Steam already.
Yeah, Steam is like the biggest game store on the PC on Windows. And then for console, of course, we have the two big guys, Xbox and PlayStation.
I see.
Yeah.
Interesting. I really enjoyed playing the game. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I hope part of the first. What do they call those people? Is it test users?
Yeah, testers, game testers.
Yeah. I'm very open to it. Sure.
Of course, we're having another playtest session, so we have internal playtesters currently. So while we develop the game, we have people who would sign up and join us internally to test, give us feedback. So
yeah, apart from that, like even before your first release, there are people that first get it now.
Yeah.
I'm open to that.
Let's talk off camera.
So I really enjoyed it. I think it is at a quality that would be expected of like a global game on a normal, right? I think my own feedback would be, I think I already gave feedback while playing, but one feedback that I would also give would be, no, I have no bad thing really to say. The only thing that isn't so positive that I gave before was the physics thing.
Yeah,
and I think the way you were trying to balance culture and familiarity is also the way you are also trying to balance computer strength and making it accessible to as many people as possible.
Yes, you get. So if your game is heavy on physics, then you might be able to have fewer players on PC. Although maybe on console, console has specific configuration. You won't have issues on console because every console have that same configuration, right? But for PC, you have someone using a 30 series, someone using a 20 series, someone using an AMD. You kind of have to account for everybody. At least you should have a minimum benchmark that should be supported.
So I like your dev logs a lot on YouTube because it shows that you are human. Because many people, like many games, when they come out, you just feel like, were these people like gods that created it? You get. I think that devlog series, at least I as a dev, it's made me understand that it is little processes that actually come together that big thing that everybody sees.
Yeah.
So I would advise people to go and check the devlogs, right? It's actually very interesting. But I have one questions around those devlogs. Things around like horse ride, fight moves, maybe blood splatter and things like that. Are they things that Unreal really helps with a lot, or are they things that they are very developer intensive? For example, horse rides. There are various things, ways horses are supposed to behave, how they are supposed to move. Your wolf movements, I did not like that one. I'm going to give you that feedback.
Okay.
An animal that was pouncing back.
Okay.
There was one animal that was, I don't know if
I mean, we took
it
that
was
out already. Well, okay.
I did not like that much.
Okay.
But apart from that, so is it that Unreal helps with like those animal feature to a large extent, then you also have to.
So I feel like it's a complementary thing, right? Unreal Engine is a great tool. I mean, probably wouldn't have been able to do something like this, with any other tool. I'm not saying other tools are not great, but Unreal Engine has given us that much, access, resources, and all to be able to build something like this. But it must be complemented with a good and experienced team. If not, with all the experience, but a talented team. So some of the decisions we made, even on technical grounds, were not so intuitive, right? I mean, we watch GTC talks. GTC talks, this GTC conference. I mean, some of the talks are never available publicly. So there's some information that you just need that, honestly, you only get them from some of these big guys. And some of this information are behind paywall that if you don't know about it, you still have a good game, but that difference will just be there. There's something when you play a AAA game, there's a way it feels. There's something that are just standard that you might never know until you explore some of their processes. Right? So there's things that I need to feel like it's not my business, but really, if you can, explore some of this, you realize that some of these are not hard to make, at least for your kind of game. You might not go crazy the way they went crazy with it, but you can have a version of it that works well in your game. Right? So if you look at things like horse riding, some of these things we worked on, in fact, it's over a year already with some of those things. They were not so intuitive, right? I remember working on the horse riding. We couldn't find a tutorial on horse riding on YouTube, like they wouldn't make horse riding.
That's why I'm asking.
And when we made it, people were like, wow, if I did people from not just this region, we're asking for a tutorial. Can you guys do a tutorial about this? We love it. It looks good. So you have to know where to find your resources. Even if you are someone that probably don't know so much, you should know where to go to find the information you need. And that's the one skill you can have as a developer. Like, you might be struggling with something and the solution to your problem is somewhere maybe 4 clicks away. And you just don't know. And if you don't know, you just don't know. So Unreal Engine helped us. And at the same time, the experience and the skill on the team and the skill sets, on the team overall is just good. I like something we say internally, and I know my, my guys on the team would agree with me if they watch this video, that there's something we say internally that there's no problem we face in Dimension11 that we can't solve. And this is not pride. Like, we've been through processes. We understand that in the games industry, there's no unsolvable problem. Probably the approach you're using is not the best, but there's no problem that you can solve. At least in the context of your game, there's none.
I see. Interesting. So, so I was actually going to ask the major challenges you guys faced at the studio. But right now, I asked about horse riding and certain things, and you said, it is the actual mode of approach towards looking for the solution to the problem that works a lot. Still give us expo on horse riding, at least for developers out there. How did you crack the horse riding thing? Like, what is the expo behind that?
I find I know that's something, but let me just go that back. So for horse riding, right? We had to look at, how horse works, right? Watch a couple videos and okay, this is how horse moves and all. And then, personally, I played a game like Red Dead Redemption. A lot of horses, and you kind of see the feel, when the horse is moving back, how it turns, the trot, the counter. There's so many things, the gallop, so many things with horses. And we're like, okay, how can we replicate this? I looked at what was existing, so started from what was already available, on the marketplace, even there are people who have pushed out there, and started from there. And to build on that, we had to explore some research materials, like, watch some videos. I remember watching a video on how they mocked and even used the animations for, was it Reddit? No, it wasn't Reddit. There was a Us game a game with us that I played, and they showed it, and I was mind blown. And finally, then we had to reach out to someone who had worked on the horse riding system. It's not an African. So I had to get some advice from him. Like, he said, "Oh, this is what you guys can do," and all of that. So bringing all of this together, we could really build that one.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think so far it has been an awesome session. I'm looking forward to speaking with the whole team. Maybe I would have a group podcast together. There are 3 other co-founders, correct?
Yeah.
I'm hoping to speak to them sometime this year.
I mean,
you can facilitate that.
If they watch this video, you say, "Oh yeah, I want to talk," because
you can facilitate that. Because from what you've explained, everybody's perspective and skill came together to bring this together.
Yeah, the core team is formed. That's why each and every one of us, including the team members, not just only founders, there's a piece of us in that game, right? So it's not just one process. It's not like, oh, one person show or something. The energy, the effort, the everything you put into it, right? You see that, okay, this is a game you would love to play, and this is a game you want to make. So
okay. Thank you very much for coming on the show. Although I have more questions, but as you know, we both have to be somewhere.
Exactly.
You're heading to Microsoft, and I'm heading to Landmark.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm hoping to speak soon again.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure. I have a YouTube channel as well. So when it comes to conversation like this, we can go for hours. In fact, we forget that the camera is rolling and keep going. Yeah, so it's a pleasure being there. And I'm glad I'm able to share some of the things we do at Dimension11. Please watch out for the game. It's coming out.
Yeah, I would really advise that you watch out. It's actually an interesting game, and I'm even advising that you look for a way to play it. Maybe visit their studio.
And sign up. We have a playtesting session coming. We would release pieces, we would post it out there, make posters about it. So sign up to be our playtester, right? You be a part of the community, the Legend of Orisha community, and you'll be able to play test, you'll be able to give us feedback. In the end, when the game launches, there you can say, "Oh yeah, I gave that feedback that led to this," right? We need more, good hands on deck. We need people who can be able to see things differently, people who can give us constructive feedback, people who can help our development process, right? So we are not, "Oh, we have everything." No. We need great hands, and so far on the team, we've had very amazing people working with us, very talented people, and we are always grateful.
Thank you, and I hope to speak again.
Yeah, of course.